Good morning to you, Matthew. Roger Weiland, Zach By in Albany on ESPN Radio. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for a few minutes. What is the latest on Rex Ryan? Because there were reports out right after the game, because Rex was asked about it, that maybe he's going to get fired this week. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, at this point, he will live to fight another week with this Buffalo Bills team. I get the sense that if anything's going to happen with Rex Ryan, it will wait until the end of the season. I think Monday would have been the time to do it if they were going to do it. And at this point, I don't know how much you gain, I guess, from firing him with 3 games to go or even 2 games to go if they were to do it next week. So I think they're going to wait till the end of the season. And the ownership will probably take a long, hard look at not just Rex Ryan, but the entire operation, start to, piece together what went wrong, why it went wrong, and then, hold some people accountable from there.
Do you think he's gone? I mean, and you follow this team closely. I mean, you think no matter what happens, final 3 games, Matthew, that he is out as the head coach?
I lean that way, but it's such a fluid situation, and I think without, them having gone back and looked at it, it's hard to say for sure one way or the other which way they're leaning. I think it's definitely on the table. It's definitely a possibility, but it's hard to say one way or the other whether he will or will not get fired. That being said, I think it would be a very fair move. I think it's probably the right move for this organization, but it's fluid. I think they're undecided, so it's hard to say which way they'll end up, turning on January 2nd when they have to make that decision. But I think if they make changes, it might not be limited just to Rex Ryan, and that's why, I think they're letting this thing play out, and then they'll do a full evaluation when the season's over.
What makes you say you think it is time already, a couple of years in, to Rex Ryan, this time to move on?
I think he just hasn't lived up to the expectations, really, that he set for himself and that this organization had for him. After the 2014 season, after Marone left, this was a 9-7 football team. They added LaShawn McCoy, Richie Incognito, Charles Clay, John Miller. They got a quarterback that was better than the quarterback they had when they went 9-7, and yet this team went backwards. He took the number 4 defense in the NFL, and he turned it into a mediocre unit. And, when that happens, to me, you have to blame Rex Ryan at that point. There's this is what he's known for. He's known for being a defensive-minded coach, and his defense has been mediocre at best. And so, to me, this team had a window to contend for the playoffs. They could have made the postseason in the last 2 years, and they didn't because the defense wasn't good enough. And to me, at some point, you have to hold Rex Ryan accountable for that, and I just don't know that anything's going to change with this team in 2017. I mean, if Rex Ryan misses the playoffs this year, which looks very likely, he'll become the 4th coach since the merger to miss the playoffs in 6 straight seasons. This is who he is, and I think it's just time to cut ties.
Matthew, the other decision that needs to be made is regarding Tyrod Taylor, the starting quarterback. Can you explain the scenario in which Buffalo is faced with in terms of making that decision on Tyrod and paying him or letting him go?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's, arguably the biggest question this team faces right now. I think, again, they're probably leaning towards not bringing Tyrod Taylor back at this point. And, it's a big decision because in March he's owed, if they pick up the option on his contract, he'll make $27.5 million guaranteed dollars in 2017. And that's a big financial commitment to make to a guy who has kind of plateaued in his progress this year. And not only are you tied to him for 2017 if you pick up that option, but all of a sudden you start to pick up a lot of dead money on his contract going forward. And even though the cap hit would still put him somewhere in the middle of the league among quarterbacks, it's still a tough pill to swallow. It's a big commitment to make to a guy that just hasn't made a ton of progress this season. And so, again, they could decide to cut ties and sort of start anew at that position if they go that way. And unless he shows dramatic improvement in the final 3 games of the season, I think that is probably the smart way to go.
Time with Mathew Fairburn, New York State, NewYorkUpstate.com, Buffalo Bills beat writer. Do you sense the fans are already ready to part company with Rex Ryan? Because he was such a popular figure when they first hired him. big old love fest with Rex, and that wore off in a hurry. What do you think the fan base is saying about this right now?
Yeah, I think the fans are ready for Rex Ryan to be shown the door at this point. You know, like you mentioned, Rex Ryan was great for business when they first hired him. You know, everybody loved him. The fans ate it up. They set a record for season ticket sales. But this isn't good for business right now. I mean, Steelers fans were made up probably 30% of the stadium last week, and this week against the Browns, tickets are going for $9 on the secondary market. It's just, I just feel like the fan base has turned on him very quickly. You know, don't forget that Bills fans know what Rex Ryan was all about in New York, and they've seen this show before, and I think he's sort of embarrassed them nationally in a lot of ways, not just with the product on the field, but with his act. You know, at first they talked about Rex Ryan coming in and being this national brand and this guy that would bring them all this attention on the big stage, which is fine when it's positive attention. But I think that has definitely turned, and I think that's why the fan base has turned as well.
We'll see how it plays out. I mean, if they win the final 3 games, what's their final record?
9-7.
9-7. So fire him 2 games above 500. But it sounds like it's going to happen. It really does. Not only with what you're saying, but so many other people are in the same boat with you that Rex Ryan has already worn out the welcome in Buffalo. It's time to change head coaches. Matt, thanks for a few minutes here. See how the weekend and next 3 weeks play out. We appreciate a few minutes.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.